I missed that sexy smile. You know I can see you at home. You know, you gotta, a little of that. Welcome, everyone. Do men bring OnlyFans girls home to mom? Do they? I say no. The answer is no, by the way. But it's a question that I am posing today and a question we're going to answer. We're going to look at an interview that I saw that happened a few months ago, but it caught my eye with Kazumi. Kazumi is an OnlyFans girl. She's a porn star on OnlyFans. She's also known as Kazumi Squirts. What do you say? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, should men set boundaries with their girlfriend, with their woman? Fresh&Fit weighed in on that. I think there are some good points in there that we need to discuss. The rational male himself, Mr. Rollo Tomassi, had pulled a screenshot of me and put a poll up that we're going to present to you. Does he have a point is the question. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about feminism, modern feminism versus founding feminism, and why I take the stand that I do on it all. Also, we're going to have him back to talk about that in person, so get ready for that. That's coming up. And Ulta Beauty decided to put out a podcast about the beauty of girlhood. But they brought in a biological male to discuss girlhood. So they had a gender fluid guy and a biological male to talk about what it means to be a girl. Lots of controversy around that. So we've got all that coming up today. We're going to start with Kazumi. I did not know who Kazumi was before seeing this splendid interview that taught me a lot about what she believes, what she stands for. And the reason I'm talking about this, you might say, well, of course, a porn star is going to have an extreme position. Well, the reason I'm talking about this is because a lot of what's going on today has gone from traditional porn, which very few people used to actually engage in, to now OnlyFans, which has opened that world up to women everywhere who are like, how can I bank on my sexuality? Tons of them are doing it. So now this is something that's quite commonplace. You have a lot of women making money off of their sexuality and making claims very much like she's going to make in this podcast. You also have a lot of women who aren't making money off of it, but will express the same ideas, who are pro-promiscuity for women. So we need to address all this. So let's get right into the clip, Tyler, with that first one. We're going to play it for you, and then we're going to react. Take a listen. This is Under the Influence show that she's on.
Person. And now it's time for me to start kind of like pushing the narrative of like, what Kazumi represents. And what Kazumi really represents to me is like, why can't sluts change the world? Why can't sluts, like being a slutty person is not an inverse of being intelligent or like impactful to your society. But a lot of people still destigmatize what I do because I happen to love trains. And like, really, it shouldn't fucking matter, that's a thing I like to do in my own time, guys.
Yeah, I think it's just...
Okay, so no, it isn't. It's not in your own time. There is a difference between someone out there. By the way, she's talking about trains. I had to ask what that was. I was like, trains? Buses? She's talking about, my husband was like, she's talking about gangbanging. I was like, what? Mine was blown. I am a relic. You will come to learn. I am a relic. Anyway, she's talking about liking trains. She's somebody who has sex with multiple people. Just, they kind of roll in, roll out. And I think she says at one point that she had like 50 in one episode. Wow. At one point, she also says that she estimates her body count to be around 500. Interesting. So she says here initially, this is just something I do in my own time. No, it's not. You're not doing it in your own time. You're making money off of it. You're selling a product. That product is you and the pornography, which, by the way, you attest to later in the interview. And you're putting it out there for other people to absorb. There's a big difference between someone who behaves like this behind closed doors and doesn't share it with the world, and someone who behaves like this and capitalizes on it and puts it out there and says, this is going to be a product. This is going to be used to grab men's attention, make them put down their cash and come back for more. So that's number one. Secondly, she talks about women and it's not correlated with a lack of intellect. That's true. You can be someone who likes trains, I guess. You can be someone who does pornography. You can be an OnlyFans girl, and you can be smart. In fact, a lot of these women, I believe, are very financially adept because they have figured out a very good marketing plan for themselves and a money-making plan. By the way, she's making millions of dollars doing this, Kazumi. So, and she has a marketing background. She's no dummy. She's no dummy. So that's true. But the point of what you bring to the table and in terms of what you bring to the world and your positive impact, pornography is not making a positive impact on the world. So I'm not saying you're a bad person if you do pornography. I don't know you. You may be on the inside very kind. You may be someone who's loyal. You may be a good friend. I don't know any of that. I'm not going to make a judgment on any of that. However, your contribution to society when you perform pornography and you disseminate it and you make money off of it is bad. It's bad. Are you free to do it? Yes. Should you be free to do it? Yes, in my view. Is it a positive contribution to society to be a highly promiscuous woman who grabs the attention of men via pornography that we know negatively affects men and women? No, it's not positive. So what I find really interesting about a lot of these women, and by the way, this is not, again, this is going to be an extreme example. This is someone who's doing pretty extreme porn on OnlyFans. But the same arguments are made by women who are just promiscuous, by women who are just out there saying, well, I can sleep with whoever I want and I can, have 6 partners this week if I want and blah, blah, blah. They want to be able to behave that way. But they also want to be taken as seriously when it comes to a serious committed relationships as the girl who's a preschool teacher and has a body count of 2. You can't expect that of people because it's not realistic. Because what you put out there affects how people view you and what people want from you. Would a guy be more inclined to want to date you if you had had sex with 50 guys in a porn scene and put it out there publicly to make money? Or if you were that preschool teacher who, was a serial monogamist and had a couple of boyfriends, but was looking to settle down and was extremely respectful about their composition, their physical composition, and didn't share it with the world. That's an obvious answer. So own what you do, but also own the consequences of what you do. And don't expect people to just have blinders on. Everybody's supposed to be like, oh, Kazumi, she's getting involved in gangbanging by day, but at night, she's just a simple girl no, they're not going to make that judgment on you. They're not, because you're putting your life out there and you are putting something out there that's going to affect the way people see you. I think 2022 is a very twisted time. I think it's so twisted because for some reason, people are just unable to process these very basic tenets about behavior informs the way people view you. This shouldn't be rocket science, and yet here we are. So I would like to ask her, what do you positively contribute to society as a porn star? What is the positive of that on society? Someone should ask. Maybe we'll have her on. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I would love to know what she feels about that. All right. So let's look at the next clip. This is horrible, but let's play it.
A thing I've learned about shooting and having amazing sex all the time is realizing that it doesn't have to mean anything. I feel like a lot of women are forced into feeling like they need to be in a relationship or need to be looking for something serious to justify sexual exploration. Whereas I'm having these amazing moments with amazing people all the time. And it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be anything. Like I go home to my partner and I don't really think about these other people because they're my coworkers, and it's like you understand this boundary of like, it's just.
In her sense, it's a coworker, right? Again, this is an extreme example because she is a porn star. But what she's saying there is being echoed by women, modern women, everywhere. Pro-promiscuity. The guys are doing it. I should be able to do it. This bad behavior, is cool now. This is empowering. This is womanhood. Yeah, go girl, go, boss bitch. That's what you're hearing from all of these women. And we've covered them. They show up on whatever podcast, they show up on a bunch of different outlets and they say, this is empowering. I am owning my sexuality. I'm out there. I'm not, I'm not some silly little girl. I'm not a 1950s housewife. They use all of that jargon and they throw it out there in the same way. I think it's really sad. I think it's really, really sad to hear a woman say that why does sex have to mean anything? That's sad to me. That's very sad to me because I think when when I was growing up back in the day, being a relic, I think what made women really special is that they did care. They did care. And what made them different from a lot of the bad boys that were out there and, you know, was that we weren't going to just sleep with anybody, and it had to mean something. And if it didn't mean something, why bother? Because ultimately, if we didn't have feelings for you, we weren't going to get any joy out of it, because we were there for the bonding, not just for the physical. It was a physical and emotional connection. And where are those women? Where are they? Because I know there are guys that still want them. I know there are guys that still value purity and integrity and not being so unbelievably promiscuous with your body. So where are the girls? So again, I'm saying this is an extreme example. The reason I'm bringing this up is because this is happening everywhere, and it's also a message you're seeing in television. It's a message you're seeing. Turn on any movie. You are seeing the glorification of female promiscuity everywhere. So it doesn't need to come from a porn star. It can come from someone who's not doing porn on OnlyFans. Think about Instagram. Everyone's half naked, just like pulling it all out on Instagram now, the women. That's somehow cool. You know, does that make you more or less likely to get the good guy? Less. A good guy's going to look at your Instagram, and if it's just naked all over, and you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about these extreme examples that are just utterly ridiculous. It's like, keep something to the imagination every now and then. Those guys are thinking, you know what? This is going to be a headache for me. I'm going to have to be, you know, even when I get with her, you know, she's still going to be putting pictures up. There's going to be guys reaching out constantly, thinking they're going to get somewhere with her. Oh, I don't need it. I'm done. I'm going out with the preschool teacher. I'm out. That's the reaction, because it's just, it's too complicated. And there is something really special about someone who, I'm not saying don't take your picture at the beach in your bikini, or I'm not saying you have to be extreme about it. But if you are putting out there extreme sexuality all the time, 24/7, that's your brand, and you are elevating promiscuity, and you are saying this is the new sign of positive womanhood, I think you're going to have a hard time getting that good guy at the end of the day. They're not going to want to bring you home to mom, because you're going to be viewed as a headache. You're going to be viewed as someone that is going to go out to the girls' nights. You know, those girls' nights out that guys sit at home and they're like, oh, just uncomfortable and knotted up. Why are they knotted up? Because bad shit happens. That's why. I was never a fan of the girls' nights. I have one really good best friend. Hi, Lauren. And we used to go and hang out all the time. But she was married really young, and we were so innocent. We would go out and pray that no one came over to us or approached us. We were just there for the dancing, honestly. But I remember that, oh man, I remember this one time girls came in, friends that I hadn't seen in a really long time, this bachelorette party. And they were like, come on, Jet. I hate all that stuff. I didn't have one. I'm not into it. But I was like, oh, I'm in New York. They're coming in. I'll just, go meet up and hang out. I go. I cannot tell you what I witnessed. Some of these girls were in relationships. What they were doing out, drunk, I was like, wow. I don't blame some of these guys who are like, you're not doing that. Like, listen, you can do it, but I'm not going to be here tomorrow if you do that, because I'm not saying it doesn't happen the reverse too. I'm not saying the boys' nights out can't get crazy, but I'm speaking as a female, like just witnessing what other females were doing. And I was just like, that's not empowering. It was nasty. There was some stuff going on that shouldn't have been going on. Let me just say that. So I wasn't there very long, just not into it. All right. Now, Kazumi gets into the topic of pornography in particular, and she's asked by the interviewer, is pornography harmful? Her answer is quite interesting. Tyler, let's play that one, 5805.
That porn can be porn is harmful.
I think in the nature of what I'm doing, which is I'm only doing exactly what I want to do because I'm an OnlyFans person, I don't think it's harmful because it's locally sourced.
Grass-fed, farm to table.
Grass-fed, organic, and you are directly supporting the producer, right? Because there's no middleman. There's no company that is taking a cut from me. OnlyFans takes 20% hosting the site, but you know that this money goes to me, which is the person you're a fan of. And that's really no different than like when you sell music or when you go to a restaurant, etc.
Okay.
Anything in excess.
So I was exhausted listening to this because that wasn't what he was asking. She took that and she was immediately thought about, well, could it be harmful to me? And she's discussing it in the sense of, through the lens of how porn stars used to get underpaid by the people who would hire them. And they would essentially, you know, there were a lot of stories out about how porn stars were mistreated because financially they were doing all this extreme work, and the people above them, the directors, the producers, everyone were making bank and they weren't. So she's talking about that. She's talking about having autonomy over her pornography. Okay. That's not where he was going with that, though, honey. He was trying to ask if it was harmful to society, to the guys that are paying you. And the answer is, of course, it's harmful. Of course, it's harmful. Let's continue, Tyler. She continues to explain. Listen carefully to what she says.
Going to be harmful to you, right? But if you understand that what you are paying for is pure entertainment and doesn't need to necessarily cross into the real world and become harmful like realities, then it's fine. Okay. But that starts.
So she's struggling. You can see she's struggling to answer this question. She's uncomfortable answering it because she knows that the answer is that yes, pornography is extremely problematic. There is no way in hell that pornography doesn't enter your real reality, your real life. Of course it does. First of all, it's highly addictive. We know that. It's highly addictive. And men wind up watching it, and then they watch more, and then they watch more. And then they need more extreme versions of that pornography to get turned on because it gets boring, it gets stale. So they're looking at crazier and crazier and wilder stuff, which is probably why she's making a lot of money, because she's doing these trains with 50 guys sometimes. I mean, that's wild. That's crazy. And then what happens is guys get desensitized to real sex. It's just like kind of boring to them because it's just one woman. They oftentimes develop things like erectile dysfunction. Porn is heavily linked to depression. So of course it's harmful. Of course it's harmful. And you have many guys that have come forth and said it's harmful and quit pornography. And you have, actually, it's becoming pretty mainstream to talk about how pornography is harmful. Interestingly enough, the guy interviewing her weighs in on that. Listen to what he says, 5944.
So like I can understand that like when you're running like trains and gangbangs and crazy things like that, and a younger person might come across that, how that could be, because I definitely was affected by porn and I stopped watching it completely.
Yeah.
So there you go. Like he's even saying like, hey, if you're young particularly and you don't have a lot of experience with actual sex, a lot of these young guys are getting their sense of what sex is through this garbage. And it is garbage. It's disgusting. And they look at that and then that becomes like, oh, that's what sex is, which oftentimes highly objectifies the people involved. It's purely physical. It's not within the context of a relationship that means something. It's extreme in its content. And how are they supposed to then, in their minds, go and do real sex with a woman in a real relationship and not have it seem less than? You know, it's almost like these virtual reality rides that you think about. Like when I was a kid, they had these like this stupid little Snow White ride at Disney that I loved. It was dumb. It was really like stupid. It was old school. It was kind of like antiquated, but it was scary. I was like, you know, like, because it was a simpler time and we weren't so over and hyper stimulated. Now, go to Universal and go on these virtual reality rides. You're like, whoa, like, you know, you could put VR glasses on. So if I went on that virtual reality ride and then right afterward hopped over to that old Snow White ride, I'd be really bored on that Snow White ride because I've just been living this, psychedelic stuff. That's what happens to a lot of these guys. They go from porn to real sex and they're like, their brain can't make that adjustment. And porn is actually wired to be addictive in the same way that social media companies, by the way, study behavioral psychology to try to get you addicted. People who do the marketing behind pornography figure out what they need to do to kind of plug into your mind to create that endorphin release so that you can't stop watching and you come back more, because that's their money chain. So I think it's interesting that she struggled so much to answer that question. They know that what they're doing is bad for people, but they do it anyway because it makes them a shit ton of money. So I ask guys out there in the chat, why do you, not necessarily you, but why men in general, why do you keep paying for it? Why are you paying for this stuff? Why are you incentivizing this stuff? Especially if you ultimately want that good girl out there to get the message that what she's doing is right. that the way she's living her life with purity and being particular about who she shares her body with and all that stuff, if that's the girl you ultimately want to bring home to mom, why reward all this nonsense and this promiscuity and this pornography in the interim? Don't do it, because you're sending a message to that girl who's living her life right that she's doing something wrong, or that, oh, maybe I should be doing that to get the attention from these guys. Like, is that what I need to do? You do not want to send that message. Ultimately, if you do and they get the wrong message, that good girl's not going to be there to take home to mom ultimately, because she's going to have gone over to the dark side thinking that that was something that you wanted. She can't process that you wanted it for a hot second and you're not taking it seriously, but you're just engaging, and then you're going to toss it and really want her. She can't process that. Women don't think like that. We don't think like that. So it's interesting. I want you to hit that like button. Go hit it right now. I want you to hit your subscribe button. We need you to send some love to the channel if you like these conversations we're having. And I want you to get in the chat. Tyler, let me know if we get any super chats. Super chats, by the way, you get your stuff read. So get on in there. All right. Then Kazumi decides, and this is going to be, we're getting to the end of the Kazumi interview that I want to cover, but it's so important because everyone thinks like, oh, porn is over there. And if you could put her comments, take out the fact that she's doing porn, take her comments and side by side them with just regular promiscuous, girl in 2022. They're almost identical. It's wild. So this is the last clip we'll play. She talks about body count. Fascinating. Let's hear it.
Signs of spotting an insecure man, in your opinion?
I would say, like, if they ask, like, what my body count is, like off rip, like, honestly, after any age, it doesn't fucking matter. Mm-hmm. Like, what a girl's body count is. Like, if you're still on that shit at the ripe age of 25, that is so embarrassing. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, because, like, what does it mean to you if a girl has a high or low body count? Do you want a girl purposely who has no experience, or do you, like, see, like, a girl with a high body count as less than? And if
they can't process this reality that guys care about this. She can't process it, because if she processes it and really thinks about it, she's going to lose her mind, because she's going to realize that she's taken herself off the market for a whole bunch of good guys simply by virtue of what she's doing with her life. So that's hard to process. She also can't process it because she's brainwashed, because a lot of these young women, I think she's like 25. I don't know. So you see how old Kazumi is? I think she's around 25. A lot of these young 20-something women are completely brainwashed by modern feminism. Completely. So they have been told that it's sexy and it's awesome and it's cool and it's empowering to be super promiscuous and build up that body count. They've been told, oh, you got to act like a man. You got to act like a man. And they can't process that acting like a man isn't helping them, and that guys don't actually want a girl who acts like a man, to put it in quotes. She 25? Is that what you got?
She's 25, yeah.
Okay, so perfect. She's right in that age group. They don't understand. They don't understand that guys don't like this. She can't wrap her head around it. And it's not just her, it's so many women. So guys, when you think about the dating marketplace, think about that reality. You may be saying, I want purity. I would rather date, the high school teacher from the small town who's been really selective. And they're not getting that message from magazines. Women are getting a very different message from film, television, magazines, everywhere. And the message they're getting is amp up that promiscuity. Be a feminist. Be proud of your sexuality. You can be proud of your sexuality and not be a whore. What an idea. What a concept.
Maybe this is a bad example, but they get promised 72 virgins, not 72 OnlyFans models.
Mm-hmm. Right. And we can talk about virginity too. I think that's a fascinating concept. There was actually a Just Pearly clip, I don't have it today, where she talked about virgins. That was really interesting. I think her sentiment was that guys don't know what to do with a virgin. Like, they think they want a virgin, but they don't really, because that comes with a whole bunch of its own baggage. The reason I didn't use it is because I didn't have enough of her context I wanted to hear, and I couldn't figure out which show it came from. But I actually think guys would much prefer a virgin with inexperience. I could be wrong. Guys in the chat, tell me if I'm wrong. I think you'd rather have a virgin with inexperience who isn't, acting like a porn star in the bedroom, maybe not as skilled but lived her life a certain way as opposed to someone hyper promiscuous who is really good in bed because she's had a hella practice. So I think women are just missing the mark on this one. And I think they're missing the mark because they have fully embraced this new idea of modern feminism and they think that's what they should be doing. They've told that any other way of living is, backward and antiquated, and they don't want to go backward. So they've decided that this is what they should be doing, even if it makes them horribly unhappy, which it often does. So yeah, she estimates her body count at 500. I wrote on here. I couldn't believe 5. I was like, what? How do you even? That's a big number, man. I know, like, if she's getting 50 at once, it's not so hard to get up there, I guess, but still. All right, we've got a TikTok too that's really interesting on body count. I pulled this one because I need guys out there. First of all, I need guys out there to see how disconnected women are from what guys actually want. And I need women out there who are inclined to look at content about women like I initially did and say, well, I'm not like that. I know women who aren't like that, to understand that in this modern age that we're in now, there are a lot of young women who are like that. And they're saying things like this. Tyler, can you pull that TikTok?
Men care about a woman's body count.
Do you? People actually care about that shit?
Men in general.
If a man is fucking asking my body count, he can get fucked. Who gives a fuck? Oh my god, that's so stupid. People actually ask that shit?
Yes.
Okay, well then you're talking to the wrong man. If a man is ever asking about your body count, you're talking to the wrong man, and he can get fucked. Like, that's so fucking stupid. Get fucked.
So, can I ask you this then?
Yeah, sure.
So, what do you think about the analogy, if one key can open many locks, it's known as a master key, as opposed to if you have a lock that can be opened by any key, it's a shitty lock?
I think that if a woman is an analogy to you, then you're not fucking ready to be talking to a woman, and you should probably get fucked. So, if a woman is the key to you, talk to your mom. Talk to your sister. Talk to your cousin. I don't know. Get a real fucking life. And get fucked. Thank you.
Does she
and
not
a woman
seem,
is not a key.
Does she not seem like she just stepped out of a feminist studies class, though? Like, college girl just stepped out of, like, some type of girl power class, and I could just see the all-female faculty behind her, like, I could just feel that energy from that moment. How sad. They can't understand, guys. If you're out there and you do care about a body count, they can't understand. Now, do I think a guy would have to always ask? I've said this before, no. I think guys know based on your behavior toward them, based on your behavior around your friends, based on your behavior in club settings, in lounge settings, based on the kinds of questions you ask them and the types of interactions you have with them, particularly early on in the relationship. I think they can tell. I think they can tell what your body count is. They can take a rough estimate. And I think usually they're not very off. However, if they do ask, what's the problem? You're only going to have a problem with that question if your body count's so high that you have to be defensive about it. Somebody asked me that, I don't care. Somebody asked her that, she probably doesn't know. She's probably like, I don't, And a lot of the girls don't know. We did panels where they're like, I don't know, 10, 13, 15, I don't know. They don't know because it's too high, or it's so high that they do know and they're deeply embarrassed. So that's who gets defensive about that. Otherwise, there'd be no reason. Who cares? Who cares? They care, apparently. All right, Fresh&Fit had a clip out that struck my interest, caught my attention, talking about setting boundaries. They're talking in particular about men setting boundaries, but I think it's applicable to both sexes, in my view. And I think it's a really important point that gets missed oftentimes. I think Myron is 100% on the money here, and I want to share it. So let's do that.
If I asked your guy, hey, would you be okay with your girl traveling, or would you prefer to stay home? 9 out of 10 times they're going to say I prefer she stay home. It's just that most guys can't be honest with their girl and say, yo, I don't like this, because we live in a world now where telling women anything is considered misogynistic or insecure or toxic. Men can't have boundaries with women anymore. And I would argue that's a big reason why women walk all over guys and why so many girls aren't satisfied with their boyfriend, because most boyfriends are fucking pussies and don't want to tell their girlfriend the truth. I'm not telling you to control your girl, but what I am saying is to control your own life. So if your girl says, I want to do X, Y, Z, and you don't like that, you tell her simply, fantastic, you can go. But if you go, understand that you are effectively single once you walk out this house, and she's got the choice to make.
That's 100% what should happen. That's 100% what should happen. don't get yourself into a relationship where you're in knots all the time because you're afraid to actually vocalize what you want, what you need, and what doesn't work for you. It's a disaster. It's going to end in disaster, and you will be brutally unhappy. So, and I think what he's saying is true. I think oftentimes men get really uncomfortable with these girls' trips, with these like, oh, it's just a bunch of girls. We're going on like girl vacay. Oh, we're girls' night out. Where are you going? Oh, we're going to the club. I think they're uncomfortable, and I think it's valid oftentimes based on what I have seen, again, happen on some of these, as I described earlier, these girls' nights out. I was never a fan. I never did a girls' trip, ever. Just like not into it. But I have heard a lot about them, and I have had friends do those girls' trips and post their photos and post their videos. And some of them are married, and I was always thinking like, did your husband ever say like, what are you doing in there like that? What are you doing? You know? And they take advantage sometimes because they feel like their husbands won't say it, because a lot of husbands are walked all over. That's a reality. But I think a lot of guys get uncomfortable with those outings that women take because they feel like there are some bad influences there. There's oftentimes a lot of drinking, stuff goes on, and they don't say it because they don't want to fight. They don't want an argument at home. They don't want to be, you know, that girl then calls her friend, oh, he won't let me do this. And it's really not an issue of let. Again, what Myron's saying is key here. He's saying, I'm not telling you to own your girl. He's not saying that the guy should be able to tell you what to do. What he's saying is that what makes the guy uncomfortable, he should absolutely vocalize. And if that girl is not capable or able or comfortable living in with the paradigm of what makes him comfortable, then she's not the right girl for him. And you should absolutely say, okay, if you want to do that, that doesn't work for me. Bye. I would argue women should say the same. Don't put yourself in a position. So if you're dating a guy and he's doing boys' night every week, and boys' night looks like he's coming home 2 a.m. and he's drunk and he's got a friend who's clearly messed up, doing bad stuff, into drugs or into whatever, and you're uncomfortable all the time, end it. End it. Or say to him, this makes me uncomfortable. I'm not telling you what to do with your life, but this is my life too, and I can't do this. Just be honest, because what you wind up with is so many men and women in relationships where they're miserable at their core. They're miserable because they're not saying how they feel. And I remember being in a situation where I dated someone for a short period of time, and I was uncomfortable all the time. And I was trying to bite my tongue, and I don't know why. I was trying to just not make waves, and I was miserable. And then one day I just woke up and said, hey, this doesn't work for me. You know, see ya. And I felt like such a sense of relief because he wasn't the right guy for me. So I think this is a really important message. I know I often speak about, you know, to women because I'm female, and he often speaks to men, Myron. And I think this is a very, very important message. I know so many men that just sit in knots oftentimes when it's like the girlfriend is like, I'm going out with the girls. And he's just like, oh. Mm-hmm. Girls are like, nothing bad happens. We're just having dinner. No, honey. No. Most of the time it's not just dinner. Let's be honest. Let's tell the truth. You know, guys come up to the table. You know, there's some hee that happens. You know, own up. Am I right, Tyler, about girls' night out?
Yeah.
Does it make do you feel like guys just when they say girls' night out, do you think about that? I'm not going to make it you because, you know, got a fiance and all that, but don't you think guys think about, that one friend she has that's just always drinking too much, and she's going to be out with her, and then the guys are going to be at the table, and it's just a headache. Yep, 100%. I'm telling you, man, they don't need all that going on. And let me tell you, the reason they don't need all that going on is because there's girls out there that don't want to go do girls' night out. I used to pray when my girlfriends would cancel on me. I'd be like, I get to sit home and watch The Notebook again. Just saying. You're like, wow, Jed, you're sad and a relic. You're a sad relic.
And it always seems like nothing good ever comes from girls' night out.
Nothing.
It's always a miss. You're always picking them up drunk. They're throwing up in the car. They're like,
yeah. Or the friend is.
Yeah, somebody's right?
vomiting.
Yeah,
yep.
It's no
thanks.
Thanks.
And then you just sit and you watch her get ready, and you're just like there. And then you see what she puts on to go out to the dinner, and you're like, where are you going to dinner? What's going on there? In the club? Going to dinner? Short dress, heels, all done up. And I always like What are you getting all done up for? Attract kind of attention in that club? I don't know. I just think I can completely understand why it gives guys, colitis. I get it. Let's just be honest, people, with your partners. All right.
Really, if you want to get done up and everything, let's go out to dinner. You want to bring a friend? Cool. Bring your friends. I don't give a shit. Let's go.
Right.
We'll take my car. Like, it'll be fine.
Right.
It'll be good.
Right. No one vomits. Everyone's happy.
Right.
No, but that's not why they want to go out. That's the thing. Sometimes these girls want to go out on these girls' nights because they want to, I'm not saying they want to cheat, but they want a little trouble. They want to get a little attention from the guys. They want to still feel like they've got it. They want to get dressed up. They want to, dance. They want to drink a little too much. They want attention. They want to feel like they're still in the game. That's why it happens. So if you want to feel like you're still in the game, get back in it. Bye. That's what I'd say. See you later. It's funny, when I met my husband, he used to have a group of guy friends, and I had such a bad experience with the guy before him that I was like, when he'd say I'm going out with the guys, I'd be like, And then I realized his version, he was really just sitting and having dinner. Like, he's such a good dude. He's like uncomplicated. He's just like, I don't need any of that. My husband doesn't really drink at all. Doesn't drink at all now, but at the time, very little. And he was just chilling, that kind of. And I was like, wow, this is so calm. So calm. So nice. I like some calm in my life. And so do men. All right, the rational male. I was getting to you, Rollo. Rollo, oh look, no, you know what? I'm thinking that it's
Knew you were gonna do that.
I looked, it said 2:07, and I'm like, we're late! But we started at 1:30. More of me to come. You're like, oh no, Jed. All right, Rollo, you put up a story. With my face. Thank you. And it was a poll, which was fascinating. And I took 2 screenshots. I took a screenshot from what Rollo said. Rollo also made a comment we're going to have to address, not today. That's for when he gets here. And then this person wrote a comment, that I want to address as well. And this is about feminism. Let's look at Rollo's. Do you have that image, Tyler?
I don't have it.
You don't have it? Mm-mm. Why don't you have it?
Can't get it to save.
Oh, okay. Bottom line. That's weird. All right. Bottom line is, Rational Male puts a poll up, and it has my face from the other day when I was talking about feminism. And it says, TradCon women are just prettier feminists. He means traditional conservative women are just prettier feminists, ? Yes or no? At the time, yes was 83% and no was 17%. That was when it first went up. I don't know where it landed. So this is a really important point. And I think if you go back and watch my interview with Rollo, the first one, you'll see that we went back and forth on feminism a little bit. And I want to dig into this for a second. Let me share. Do you have that second one or no? The second one? Okay. Go commented on my video and said, this woman has the life she has. Career, having a family at 40, being able to vote, even being considered a person under the law. They made an equal person under the law because of feminism. So this is a weird take. And it was in response to my Instagram posting about modern feminism, which was essentially saying that modern feminism is problematic for women. So let's talk about this. I want to just bring up this word feminism for you. When I talk about feminism, I'm talking about modern feminism. I'm not talking about feminism as it was intended. I'm not talking about founding feminism. These are 2 separate things. Founding feminists, when I think of that, you're going back to the 19th century. You're going back to people like Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Mary Wollstonecraft and suffragettes. These people were fighting for women to have things like the right to vote, for women to have access to educational opportunities. They were largely pro-life. Interesting. And they were abolitionists. Okay, those were the founding feminists. They were looking for voting rights. They were looking for rights that women didn't have and access to opportunities that women didn't have. Those things were meant to help women, to aid women, to make female lives better. They were not aimed at tearing down men. It was not an anti-man philosophy. It was a pro-woman philosophy because there were a lot of things that women couldn't do back then. Educational opportunities were limited. We all know what happened with voting rights at the time. So That is to be distinguished from modern feminism. Modern feminism is a pro-abortion, pro-promiscuity movement. They label men as toxic. It's largely anti-man. They can't even define a woman. In fact, modern feminism will throw an actual biological woman under the bus for a trans woman. So it's not a pro-woman movement. It's actually an anti-woman movement and an anti-man movement. It's just anti-everything, modern feminism, because it's bad for society at large. So when I talk about, when people say to me, Jed, are you a feminist? I say no, because I am speaking through the lens of what feminism means to people today. If I turn around and I say yes, because I'm thinking of 19th century feminism, no one's on the same page with me. Then I have to go through a whole thing of, oh, well, yes, I believe that women should have had the right to vote. And you're asking me if I'm a feminist. You're using the terminology of today. You're using the lens of today through which people view that word. The answer is no. So when you say, are traditional conservative women feminists, by the standard of how feminism is described today, my answer would be not necessarily. I can't speak for them all, but not necessarily. No, because they're not pro-abortion. They're not pro-promiscuity. They're not a man-hating type of person. They're not interested in labeling all men as toxic masculinity. They don't do that. They do stand up for biological women in sports and against all this woke nonsense. So they do defend housewives. They do defend the choices that women make to stay at home. They do defend traditional roles, and they do defend the essential differences between men and women. So they don't fit into that view of modern feminism. Now, I think some guys in the manosphere, I don't know if it's Rollo or not, will speak about how essentially we're all kind of feminists because we are growing up in a world now post-1970s, post-1960s. I call it post-Gloria Steinem feminism, which is rancid. But essentially because we are growing up in that world, a lot of how we react and how we behave is influenced by that, whether we like it or not. So the lens through which we see things has been tainted just by virtue of being alive in this time and growing up in this time. There may be some truth to that. In fact, I think there probably is some truth to that. You can't remove everything that you've been exposed to in your life and pretend like it hasn't touched you in some way. So I'm sure that it has touched me. In fact, I'm sure that some of my initial defensiveness when it came to these conversations came from that place. I'm sure of it. And some of it came from just me being like, I didn't live my life like that, don't label me. But I think that it's really important to know the difference between the two groups. So when somebody asks you if you're a feminist, they're talking about post-Gloria Steinem feminism. Do I think, and to answer his question in the poll, the answer is no, they're not. They're not. That's not what traditional conservatives are fighting for every day. They're not. You know, look at people like Ali Stuckey. Now, are they successful? You know, she runs a great show, but she's someone who's out there defending, and she's religious too, so she's defending, you know, traditional male and female roles, oftentimes from a biblical sense as well. So you can't make that assumption. But it's an important conversation. In the chat, would you like Rollo to come back and have that deep conversation on feminism? He wants to. He wants to talk more about this. He's very into it. I think it would make for a great discussion. And also just to say, like, again, this person, who pointed out that, yeah, I have a career and a family at 40 and I can vote and I'm an equal person under the law because of feminism. Again, that's all because of feminism as it was intended to be. That's because of the founding feminists. I don't have any of that because of modern feminism. I'm not pro-abortion. I'm not pro-promiscuity. If anything, modern feminism is wrecking women. It's giving them some deluded idea that being promiscuous is empowered. And as a result, they're having a really hard time finding themselves in good relationships and are oftentimes extremely unhappy, living lives of, as I said again, some of these more badly behaved men. And by that, I mean more promiscuous men. So they're not doing women any favors. Abortion does not help women. It does not help women. Promiscuity does not help women. Modern feminism does not help women. Founding feminism sure as hell did help them. Sure as hell did. And probably those individuals are rolling in their graves looking at what feminism has become and disgusted at what it has been turned into by the political left. All right, Ulta Beauty. I want to get to that. Ulta Beauty. You know what Ulta Beauty is? Tyler, do you know what Ulta is? Guys don't know about this stuff.
I know what Ulta is. I've bought a few gift cards from there.
Oh, how nice. It's a website. I like it. I fancy it. I'm not going to lie. I like the girly things. Makeup, skincare, hair care. It's mostly, I'm not saying you can't find products for guys there. I'm sure you can, but girls dig the site. They recently started a podcast called The Beauty of. This episode was called The Beauty of Girlhood. So I originally saw the title and I was like, oh, that looks kind of cool. The Beauty of Girlhood. That's nice. And then I see who's on the episode. Well, Dylan Mulvaney, a biological man who is currently transitioning to being a woman via drugs, is the guest on the Beauty of Girlhood episode. And who is Dylan talking to? David Lopez, a gender fluid, I don't know, is he a photographer, I think? I think he's a photographer. Pretty sure. So can I just ask, on the Beauty of Girlhood episode, where are the girls? Just wondering. I'm just curious. It seems like a question that should have an answer. So they put out a video and people went nuts, bonkers. A lot of women went bonkers. They did not anticipate that reaction. Of course not, because they think everybody lives in a bubble and everybody absorbs their bullshit and regurgitates it. But some of us are still free-thinking people, unfortunately for them. Let's watch the promo video.
Now I know I can find love. I know I can still be a performer. I know that I can have a family. I want to be a mom one day. And I absolutely can. And that's why the narrative still has a long way to go, because when I was grieving boy Dylan, I didn't know those things were even accessible to me. Now I know.
So he can't become a mom. Okay. It's a man who's trying to become a woman, and we're going to show you a video because Dylan is actually very public about this transition and has 8 million TikTok followers. And part of her, whatever you want to, I don't know, story is to talk about this transition and the drugs and all that. Now, nothing against Dylan, by the way. I have no problem with Dylan. Dylan could be a lovely individual. No problem. Dylan is free, is a grown adult, free to live the life that she, I guess that's the pronoun we're supposed to use, whatever, wants for herself. I have no issue with it. I'm all for adults building the life they want for themselves. What I do have an issue with, though, is the fact that Ulta chose to have an episode about girlhood and didn't feature a girl. Tell me what a biological male knows about what it has been like to live life as a female. You didn't get a period. You didn't go through puberty as a girl. You didn't date as a girl in those formative years. You're not a girl. You're not a girl. So why do this? Well, I'll tell you why. Because it was more important for Ulta to be woke than it was to be just or honest. The idea that we're now saying that men can be moms takes away from women. Why does no one see that? Me being a mom has been the greatest gift of my life. My husband can't do that. He can be a dad. And I can't be a dad. I can be a mom. I don't want that taken away from me in the name of woke causes. That is the single greatest accomplishment of my life. Women should be fighting for this stuff. Biological women should be fighting to hold on to this stuff. Guys can't give birth. They can't carry babies. They're different. They're not us. So women came back and they said, we're going to boycott this company because we are tired of being disregarded. We are tired of being pushed to the side in the name of the latest woke cause. It used to be cool to defend women. Remember that? That was the woke cause, was that men were bad and you had to defend women at all. Now that's not cool anymore. We're into stage 3 now. Now, biological women, you're out. Now it's only cool to defend trans women. That's it. Even the gays are out. The gays aren't cool enough. Nope. Got to be trans. That is the issue of the moment. It's the issue of the moment in media. It's the issue of the moment in pharma-run media, by the way, because they're going to make a shit ton of profit off of these drugs and they're going to have lifetime customers. So everybody get in line now. Get in line. Let's throw women under the bus. We don't care anymore. By the way, where are the Gloria Steinem feminists to defend women now? Shh, cowards. Cowards. You're a coward, Gloria Steinem. You were a coward when you didn't hold Bill Clinton accountable, and you're a coward now when you're not standing up for biological women against this nonsense. Where are you? Disgusting. So I looked into Dylan Mulvaney, by the way. I wanted to see the channel. Let's pull that up. I just want to give you context. This is not to rip on Dylan. But Dylan does not belong in an episode about girlhood.
Dude, the people do not like this at all.
No.
These comments are, every single one is negative. It's blackface, but more whiny. I'm black and this is worse than blackface. The people do not like that.
Let's play this video, and then we're going to talk about why. Really, that's a great point actually that was brought up about blackface. But this is Dylan. Let's just watch the video.
Breaking news. It's day 220 of being a girl, and we have another boob update. I have been on hormones now for 10 months, and I started to dissolve my estrogen pills under my tongue, which some of my trans gal friends told me to do, and I'm not a doctor, so don't take my word for it, but I'm telling you, it's working so much better. I mean, can you kind of tell the little bit of change in my face? And look, I have boobs. Like, there's no question about it. And this is officially my boob shirt, right? But, wow, look at that side angle. Whoa! But sometimes I forget that I have them. Like yesterday, I hopped out of the shower and my Uber Eats delivery was here. So I wrapped myself in a towel around my waist to go get it. And as I was opening up the front door, I remembered that I have these and that I can't just show them off. And, you know, thank God the delivery person had already walked away.
So we can stop it there. You know who doesn't forget that they have boobs? Girls. Because we grow up and we're very aware that things are changing and we go through puberty as a girl. So again, no disrespect to Dylan. Honestly, seems like a lovely person, very entertaining. Honestly, I'm being sincere about that. No disrespect. Live the life that you want to live. Everyone needs to be entitled to do that. We live in a free society for a reason. But there is something deeply wrong with a culture and a company that just pushed all real girls aside to do an episode on girlhood with a biological man who doesn't know anything about being a girl. And why can't we say that? There could have been a different episode about trans people and transition and what that means. That's where Dylan belonged. And that would have been fine with me, by the way. There are people who would love to tune into that, people who share a similar experience and want to know what Dylan's experience has been like. But to do an episode on girlhood, the reason people were upset and talking about blackface and all that is because what they're seeing is that girlhood to Ulta equates with a costume and with what often looks like a bad Halloween costume. I'm going to be honest with you. And they're saying that's not what being a girl is. That's not what it is. It's about way, way, way more than that. And it starts really young, and it's about going through life and experiencing those things as a girl and then woman. And I'm so tired of all of this stuff being taken away from women. Again, going through puberty as a woman is a unique experience. It's different from what it means to go through that as a man. Can we not now have that as ours? Getting a period for the first time is wild. It's a wild thing. It's scary. It's fun. It's exciting. It's a whole bunch of stuff. I still remember that moment. I won't share it with everyone because, but I still remember it. It's a big moment. Getting pregnant was crazy. Carrying a little human being inside your stomach that you watch get fingers and toes and kicks you and puts his little hands up. I mean, it's wild. Women are real life superheroes in many respects, as are men in different respects. But I'm tired of this getting taken away from women in the name of wokeness. And people let Ulta have it. By the way, their prior episode was called The Beauty of Fatness. So I saw that and I said, oh, so they're just going down the line. They're just going, oh, let's praise for everyone who's fat. It's actually healthy now. 2022 said being fat's healthy. Yay. Then they moved on from fatness and they said, oh, now let's do girlhood. Only let's bring in a trans woman. That's fantastic. I mean, people are exhausted from this stuff. And I remember doing an interview with Kim Iverson and talking about a lot of this woke stuff and her saying, I don't think people really are tuned in to this the way you think they are. They are. Look at the comments. It went on and on and on from conservative women and some liberal women. They are pushing too far. They're pushing too far. And we all know that this is geared toward children, right? Because they want children you have to start questioning these things young to make these woke maniacs happy. So it's being targeted toward kids. I saw that Sarah Gonzalez over at The Blaze. She's great. You should follow her. She's digging into the drag shows in Texas. And there was a drag show that was unbelievable for kids. And it was this drag queen talking about my pussy this, my pussy that. I almost died. And there's people, by the way, adults in the room singing along. And I'm just thinking to myself, what type of decay are we in now that parents are going to these things with their small children and singing it? Do you remember when we used to listen? Like, I remember like being in the car with my dad, even in the 90s, when one of those like rap songs would come on that was a little vulgar, and he would be like uncomfortable. Like, no, this has to go. And I'd even be uncomfortable like that it was on and I was in the car and my dad was there. No. Now the moms are like, my pussy good, the little 8-year-old there. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Did you see what Steven Crowder posted a couple days ago?
No.
So there was a girl who is an OnlyFans model, and she's a bigger girl, and she posted a reel of her in a baggy shirt and then it scene chains and she's in lingerie. And, you know, it's like a promo for her OnlyFans, right? And right after that, she says, you know, people coming at me asking where my dad is at. And then it flips to, well, he's my biggest fan. So she's dancing in the reel and in comes the dad dancing right. And I mean, this is a full-blown OnlyFans model. Can't be older than 21, 22. I mean, it is. And he goes, every day we stray further and further from the light of God. And he's right. I mean, it's
well, it's sick now.
Right.
Now it's sick. You know, it used to do, and that's the interesting thing about the not to get political, but I will, the divide between the left and the right. It used to be really more of a policy divide. You know, it was like, oh, this group over here wants to lower your taxes, and this group over here wants to raise them, and these folks believe in less government, and this is, you know, more government. And it's all felt very clean. And it all felt very kosher and very palatable and it was just a political discussion. And now, what is going on? This is why I talk about a national divorce. I don't know if you saw that the other day, but I said I'm getting there. I am getting to the point where I'm like, yes, because this stuff is sick, and it's infesting blue cities around the country, and I don't want it. I don't want it around me, and I don't want it around my kid. So I'm like, hey, I'm a freedom lover. Go do you over there, and I'll go do us over here. Like, yeah, I'm going to cling to my guns and my religion over here. I'm good. And you can go over there and do drag shows for kids and, you know, celebrate fatness. You do that over there. I'm good with the national divorce if we're going to keep going societally where we're headed, because I can't have that stuff corrupt my child, and I don't want it. So you have the freedom to do it over there, and I'll have the freedom to live my. That's what a national divorce is. I know it has grave consequences to do that, but I'm to a point where I'm like, I'm there. What was that you just brought up? Is that it?
That was it, yeah.
You want to show it?
Yeah.
Watch this. Watch this. You ready? Baggy. Boom.
So I never thought I'd be advocating.
I mean, this is what I'm saying, though. And I'm curious, because all of those parents are probably around, what age would you say? Are these the parents that are like in their 30s?
I would say 35, 38, 40.
So that's where it all went wrong, really.
Yeah.
I mean, slightly younger than me is where it all went wrong.
What are they, millennials? No, yeah, they're millennials.
They're millennials.
No?
It's the millennial parents, I think. And by the way, I think there's going to be backlash after post-millennial. What is it? Right after millennials, what? That's a Gen Z. And then what is it? Gen X?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's going to be backlash to this. The millennials are I think are the worst, honestly. Truly. Because they were ripe for some reason for this type of neurosis, and now they are having children. So it's the millennials that are bringing their kids in for gender transitioning drugs at like 7. That's who's doing it. They got to the millennial culture. It's just a matter of how much everybody else is going to react and change it. Do we have anything we want to get to in the chat before we close?
Let me look now.
Yeah, take a look, Tyler.
Yeah, and no, I mean, you make a very good point that Gen X is the younger generation is vastly more conservative, and they're sick of this stuff. They're like, no, I want nothing to fucking do with this.
Well, because it got too creepy, you know, and that's the thing. Like, you just this stuff is getting too weird. It's getting too insulting. They're trying to make it so that they thought they were gonna. Ulta is so woke. And some of these companies are like that. Some of these big companies, Google, you know, they're so woke that they live in this bubble and they think they're going to release something like this and people are just going to be like, oh, that's so nice. They don't really have their finger on the pulse of just reality anymore. And people were just like, where's the beauty of girlhood? Where's the girl? Gulp. You know, like, I don't think so. And they can't believe it. They actually released a statement, by the way. I never read that. This is what Ulta said, by the way. We'll get to that in 1 second, Tyler. We believe beauty is for everyone. And while we recognize some conversations we host will challenge perspectives and opinions, we believe constructive dialogue is one important way to move beauty forward. The intersectionality of gender identity is nuanced. Sometimes David and Dylan acknowledge themselves within the episode. Regardless of how someone identifies, they deserve our respect. Fine, yes. But that doesn't change the reality that the episode was about girlhood and there was no girl present. No one's talking about, oh, yes, you can respect people's individual decision making. You can have respect for their opinions and the way they live their life and say to each his own. But it was an episode about women, honey. Man, whoever wrote this ridiculous tweet in defense of this, it was an episode about women and there weren't any there. That's why people are laughing and mad. I'm telling you, it's like we are in crazy town. You can't even there were just things that you could say 2 years ago that were just fact. Now it's like, oh no. Next 2 years, it's good. You're not going to be, this is a table. Oh, is it though? Is it a table? How do you feel today? Are you a table? I think it's a chair. I think this is a chair and now this is a table. Do you see where we're going with this though? You're not going to, soon we're going to need new language. Everything's subjective. Crazy. These people are out of their freaking minds. Tyler, before we close out.
One comment here says, welcome to Sodom and Gomorrah. Another one says, not going to lie, dads are like moms nowadays. Dads are not dads anymore.
Oh, I wonder what that means in terms of, are they too soft? Mm-hmm. The dads have gone soft. Yeah, that's a problem too. That's a problem too. That's a great point. It's a problem too. You have more? No? Good?
No, that's it.
Yeah, so, and it's true. The dads have gone soft. The whole reason that it works to have a mom and dad in the house is because they're supposed to be different. You don't need like another version of a mom. You need a dad to be a dad. Don't go soft dads. We need you to be the tough ones. I'm the one who, my husband yesterday, just closed with this story. My husband's very big on Hartley. Like, he's got to go in, have his nap. He's got to go in, sleep the night through. He loses patience. He's nice for a minute, and then he's like, okay, Hartley, I'm done now. Now I'm done. Now you're going to tuck yourself in. I'm done. So the nap happens, and Jeremy's like on a business call, and he's looking for me. And he's like, I see it, like I know he's looking for me. And where was I? I was crawled up in the toddler bed with the baby. I'm not going to lie. He comes in and he's like, you're undoing what I'm doing. And I'm like, listen, you're the dad, but I'm the mom. So you do you and you be tough. But you know I'm going to crawl into that bed with my baby when he says mama. That's the beauty of marriage. All right, everyone, we're going to be back here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. I've got Eric Preach. We're going to be talking about dating, relationships, everything. It's going to get wild. Subscribe. Hit that like button. Don't make me yell. When I yell, I go New York. You don't want to hear that. So see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.